Welcome to Lotus Health Education and Wellness Empowerment through Health Enlightenment. With our recent video series, we've been looking at some of the lifestyle changes that we can make to keep ourselves healthy when we're dealing with chronic conditions, which, as we discussed in one of our previous videos, are going to be health conditions that you may have that you can be dealing with for an extended period of time, or in certain cases, the remainder of your life. And with that, we looked at one of the diets which we can incorporate into our regimen in order to be able to get better health outcomes. Well, with this new set of videos, we're going to be transitioning over into another area of the heart and conditions that can affect it, and that's the buildup of cholesterol, and a condition that it can cause, which is known as atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, or ASCVD. We'll have a few videos in this series that'll look at labs that we can monitor, the types of medications and supplements that may need to be implemented at some point through the course of your treatment, and the most important component at all, the lifestyle changes, specifically with regards to your diet and certain types of exercises that may be very helpful to keep your cholesterol under control. But before we do any of that, it's important for us to take a step back and take a look at probably the most important thing that we need to look at with regards to tracking how you're doing with ASCVD and any risks that you may have, and that's going to be to evaluate your labs. Before we jump into the labs themselves, there are some important things that we need to look at, not just taking the labs for lipids into account, but really almost any labs that you're doing. And that's the prep work that goes into making sure that you get the most accurate and useful results from your labs that are possible. So let's take a look today at some of the preparation that we need to make sure that we do for our labs. Whenever you're going to have labs done, there are going to be a number of things that are going to be important for you to take in mind anytime you're making the preparations to have any sort of blood work done. With many labs, it's going to be important to know a few things. For instance, whether these are what we refer to as baseline labs or if they're follow-up labs. With baseline labs, these are going to be the ones that we're checking anytime we have you being worked up with the expectation to do something in particular, whether it's attempting to diagnose you with a particular health condition, if we're looking to implement some sort of lifestyle change and want what your starting point is, and we can have that to compare to once we make that change with you, what your response is, or if you're going to be put on some sort of medication or other type of treatment where we as the healthcare team will be working with you to do something beyond diet and exercise to be able to have some sort of change. That typically is what we'll refer to as your baseline labs. With regards to something that's a follow-up, that typically is going to be something that we may recommend be done, and we'll give you several months or weeks, depending on what it is, time frame for you to have that particular intervention, whether it's a diet change, starting an exercise routine, starting a medication or supplement. From that point to when we have you come in for a follow-up is going to be your follow-up labs. So all of those things are going to be important for you to know whenever we are looking at labs. And it'll be a good idea whether you're going to a laboratory to get it done, as will be the case that we'll look at today with your lipids and things like your A1C, blood glucose, kidney function, liver function, any tests that require a large amount of blood and certain types of machines and devices to run the results. Those will be things that you'll go to a lab for. For things like your blood glucose that you check at home, and certain other types of tests where you may be able to get something that you can use within your home, those are going to be home-based tests or things that we can do in the office called point-of-care testing, where it doesn't have to necessarily go to a lab in order for it to be done. It can be taken care of either in the office or in your home. So these are all things that you can think about with regards to your testing, and in many cases, whether it's those in-office or at-home labs or things that we have to send away, it's always a great idea for you to track them and have those things written down somewhere, either on paper or maintaining them electronically. Not only will it put the results right there at your fingertips, but it's also a great way for you to be able to track your progress and really see where things that you're doing to make changes with your life are having an impact. While your symptoms tend to be one of the easiest ways for you to be able to feel whether or not the things that are being done is helpful, there's no question that seeing those labs and the changes, whether bad or good, that happen with them, it's going to be a motivator for you to know that certain things are working and certain things are not. One of the other things to keep in mind with labs is that depending on what the particular thing is that we're looking at, for instance, today, with the fact that we're going to be looking at a series of videos that we're doing specifically looking at your cholesterol levels, there are going to be ranges, values that we will assign from labs and standardized testing that we do to establish what results should come out, that you will know whether your results are what would be expected or if there are things that need some work. If you take a look in the description below, I give some information about places that are good resources in the specific case of today, looking at things regarding your cholesterol and some of the associated labs that we'll be talking about as part of our video on the labs for maintaining your cholesterol. There's certain other markers that we look at with your lab values, like your blood sugar, your A1C. We may look at your liver function, and in certain cases we may look at things that tell us how your kidneys are functioning, like your serum creatinine or your eGFR, all of which again you'll see down here in the description what some of those things are. Those might be things that we will take a look at. Each one of those individual labs will have a result that we consider to be a normal range, which means the lowest and the highest numbers and everything, of course, in between that we would look at in order to know whether you're responding well and your organs are functioning and everything is healthy, or if there is some concern, either that things are functioning below where we would like them to be and your numbers are low, or that your values are too high and there could be something of concern for us to take a look at. So all of these are going to be important as part of us looking at your labs. Whenever you're going to have a lipid panel done, you're typically going to be told by the member of your healthcare team that discusses these labs with you that you'll need to be fasting, meaning that they would prefer that you have nothing to eat from the night before up until the point that you're going to be taking the labs. The reason for this is that when you eat and then you have labs done within a very short period of time after you've had food, there are certain things that we are looking for in your blood work that food that you consume prior to the labs may affect. Certain portions of your lipid panel, which again is the lab we do to look at your cholesterol, can be affected by you having something to eat right before the labs. The other thing is that because there is such a close association with increases in certain markers in your cholesterol to having things like diabetes or that you have issues with your glucose levels, we may, with your lipid panel, have you also have your glucose, which again is the circulating sugar in your body, as well as your hemoglobin A1C, which is roughly about a 3 to 4 month long average of how your body is processing glucose. We may order those labs along with your lipid panel. And if that's the case, if you have certain beverages to drink or certain food items prior to having labs done, it can affect the accuracy of the numbers that we are looking at. In other words, it may make certain things come out higher than they are, and we don't want to start you on medication unnecessarily or ask you to make certain other changes thinking that your body is not functioning quite the way that ideally it should, when in reality it may have been what you ate prior to those labs. So it's so important, if you're advised to be fasting before any lab work that you're having done, that you do take that into consideration and make sure that you have nothing to eat or drink unless it's absolutely necessary and if you're advised to. So that's our video today on preparing to get your labs done. Keep in mind again, just like we talked about, it's important to understand whether you're going in for an initial set of labs, what we refer to as baseline testing, or if these are follow-up labs where we're looking to see how you responded to whatever change that was made, whether it was a change in your diet, something to do with exercise, or a change in your activity level, or if we've implemented some sort of more intensive change like a supplement or medication of some kind. It's also important to remember that you keep in mind fasting. When you're talking about fasting, typically you're not going to have anything to eat from the night before, like maybe around 10 to midnight the night before the testing, all the way through the testing. If you have any special conditions or situations where you may need to have something in your system, always talk to your healthcare providers about your particular situation and how you can handle a fasting lab, or if the test that you're having isn't affected by food, not needing to fast prior to getting your blood work done. The time frame to how long it will be with your results coming back will all be variable depending on what sort of labs it is that your doctor or a member of your healthcare team has ordered for you. Some labs can come back in as soon as a business day, some of them take a couple of days, and then there are some, like our advanced lipid panel for instance, which we'll be doing a video on very soon as part of this series on cardiovascular health and ASCVD, where we'll talk about the fact that the advanced lipid panel may take several days to over a week in order to come back because of the type of testing that's being done. So all of these things are important factors for you to keep in mind as you're preparing to get your labs done and making sure that you're getting the best and most accurate results from your blood work so that you can sit down with your healthcare team and make decisions regarding your health and what will happen. The lifestyle changes that will be very important in order to get those labs where they need to be. So as you maximize those lifestyle changes, whether it be diet and exercise, whatever it is that you can do on the non-medication side, we will then have a good idea of at what point a supplement and or medication might be helpful for you to get the best health outcome possible. Don't forget to give today's video a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got more great content scheduled to come out on this topic regarding the labs, diets, all of the changes that are going to be helpful to be able to make you live the healthiest life possible, and of course, supplements and medications that might be beneficial. We look forward to seeing you back here at our channel and hope that we can provide you a way to have empowerment through health enlightenment. Take care. Thank you for watching this video from Lotus Health Education and Wellness. We hope that you enjoyed it and find the content useful on your healthcare journey. We want to remind you that while eating healthy, like a lot of the recommendations that we'll make in these videos, exercising, using certain supplements and medications recommended to you by your healthcare team or that you hear about in general, may be beneficial in many ways, that it's always important to also continue to work with your healthcare team that's responsible for looking after you. Whether that's a primary care visit or a specialist, always make sure to follow the guidance that they provide. Try to keep those regularly scheduled appointments. And while we appreciate the trust and the respect that you may put into a lot of the content that we'll provide here on our channel, always make sure to run that by them anytime you're going to be incorporating anything new into your routine. And also to be mindful that even with our best efforts and all of the things that we'll try to do to keep ourselves healthy, certain things like our genetics, the environment that we live in, other health conditions that we have, and a lot of other things that we may not know about ourselves are unfortunately going to impact our health. Don't get discouraged by that. Always make sure to continue on trying to live your healthiest and being well every day, and follow up with your healthcare team. We hope that you do enjoy our videos. If you do, remember to push that like button and also subscribe. We'll be putting out a lot more content, and we hope to see you back here for empowerment through health enlightenment.